No one expected the sky to burn on that quiet morning. The fishing boats had barely left the harbor when the first shadow fell. People looked up, confused by the strange hum vibrating in the air. Then the ground shook. Bright blue lightning struck the ocean and split it open like a wound. From beneath the waves, massive ships with glowing runes emerged. The invasion had begun. The aliens didn't speak or ask for surrender. They only captured. Anyone who resisted was taken. Anyone who ran was taken. Some screamed that it was a new kind of energy war, that humans were being harvested. No one believed it at first. Until they saw the cauldrons. In the heart of the ships, great chambers filled with heat and fire were discovered. Inside, living beings were suspended above boiling energy pools. The aliens drained their life slowly, turning it into power. It was a horrifying engine made of living fuel. Cities began to vanish. No missiles, no bombs. Just silence followed. By the rising hum and light in the sky, Jace was a repairman. Not a soldier, not a fighter. But when the military base where he worked was hit, he was one of the few who survived. With no orders and no guidance, he began searching for other survivors. He carried only a basic toolkit and an old rifle he found near a fallen guard. The only thing he had more than tools was courage. On the third night, while hiding in a burned-out building, Jace saw something impossible. A transport ship landed nearby. He crept close and watched as alien guards dragged prisoners inside. One of them was a girl. Her skin glowed faintly under the moonlight. Her hair shimmered like underwater. Fire. She didn't look human, but she looked terrified. Jace didn't understand why, but something about her felt wrong in the best way. She wasn't like the other aliens. She looked too young, too sad, too alive. When she was dragged past the fire pit, she resisted. The guards slapped her down. But she looked straight at Jace. Their eyes met for only a second before he ducked behind rubble. The next day, Jace followed the ship to the Forest Dome facility. It was surrounded by heat towers and humming fences. Getting in would be suicide. But Jace didn't turn back. Something pulled him forward. Not duty, not revenge, something deeper. That alien girl's eyes hadn't asked for help. They had begged. At nightfall, he climbed through a half-burned exhaust tunnel. Inside, the heat was unbearable. The air smelled like chemicals and something far worse. He passed cages. Some were empty, some were not. Groans and whimpers echoed through the metal halls. Then he found the chamber. The largest cauldron glowed orange and blue from below, and she was there. Chained above it, trembling, Jace moved without thinking. His feet felt heavy, but his heart was louder. The guards were gone, probably on a shift break. He climbed the platform, reached her just as the cauldron bubbled higher. Her eyes opened slowly, her lips parted. And with the softest shivering voice, she whispered one word. Please. Jace froze the moment she whispered. The heat rising from the cauldron licked at his skin, but he didn't care. Her voice was weak, but it reached deep inside him. Her wrists were bound with metal, cuffs glowing blue. Every few seconds, energy pulsed through them, making her shudder. He reached out and touched the chains. They were hot, but not burning. Carefully, he pulled a small tool from his belt and began working on the locks. Sparks flew, but he didn't stop. The girl stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. No one had ever helped her. Not once. The lock clicked open. One wrist dropped. She winced in pain. Jace moved to the other cuff quickly. Alarms hadn't gone off yet, but the soft hum in the walls felt heavier, like the system knew something was wrong. The second lock broke. She fell forward into his arms. Her skin was hot but soft. She clung to him like a child lost in fire. We have to go, he whispered. She nodded, though her legs shook under her weight. Jace pulled her arm around his shoulder and began leading her toward the exhaust tunnel. Every step felt like a lifetime. The walls groaned. A sudden burst of steam shot out nearby, making her jump. She whimpered, then held on tighter. They reached the shaft, but the tunnel door had been sealed shut. Jace cursed under his breath. He turned to look around for another exit, but the girl stepped forward. Her fingers lit up faintly. She touched the lock, and with a pulse of blue light, the door slid open. "You can control their tech?" Jace asked. "Only the old parts," she said softly. They entered the tunnel and began crawling. The metal scraped Jace's back. The girl moved slowly, her breath shallow. As they neared the outer hatch, voices echoed behind them. Heavy boots, the guards had noticed. They had only seconds. Jace slammed his shoulder into the hatch and forced it open. Cold night air rushed in. They fell into the forest floor. The girl gasped at the feeling of grass. Jace pulled her to her feet and they ran. Branches scratched his arms. The ground was uneven, but the guards didn't follow. Not yet. He took her deep into the ruins of an old power station, where he had been hiding for days. Once inside, Jace lit a small lantern. The room glowed dim orange. He gave her a blanket and a bottle of water. She drank slowly, her hands shaking. Her body had marks, burns, and scars. Some were old. Some were fresh. He wanted to speak, but he waited. "My name is Jace," he finally said. She looked at him for a long time. Then nodded. "I'm Lyra," she said. They sat in silence. The only sound was the wind outside and the crackle of distant alien towers. Finally, Jace asked what he had been holding back since the beginning. "Why were you in that cauldron?" Lyra didn't answer right away. She looked down, her eyes shining with tears. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "I was born in one of their breeding tanks. I was made to be energy, not a soldier, not a worker, just fuel. When I grew too strong, they decided I was unstable. They chose to burn me early. It happens sometimes. It's called pre-harvest." Jace's stomach twisted. "You're not human," he said. "But you don't seem like them either." "I'm not," she said. "My blood is mixed. My mother was a captive. She died when I was young. I never met my father. I've never been outside the ship until now." He stared at her. A live-in person raised like a battery. The idea was sickening. He wanted to say something kind, something hopeful. But all he managed was, "You're safe now." Lyra shook her head slowly. "No one's safe. They won't stop. Every human, every hybrid, every life with warmth inside, they want it. They use it to fuel their weapons, their ships, even themselves. Without life energy, they rot. That's why they take so many." Jay stood and began pacing. "Then we have to tell someone. Broadcast it. The world thinks you're all the same. If they knew the truth, they'd fight back smarter." "No one will believe me," Lyra said. "I'm still one of them in their eyes. Then I'll make them believe," Jace said. She looked up at him again, and this time her eyes weren't full of fear. They were full of something else. Hope. Jace didn't sleep that night. He sat by the broken window of the old power station, watching the distant glow of alien towers. The wind howled through the shattered walls, but it wasn't the cold that kept him awake. It was the promise he had made. Lyra rested on a mattress of folded blankets. She slept lightly, her body still recovering. Even in rest, her fingers switched as if still feeling the burn of energy chains. Her chest rose and fell in slow rhythm. She had been created as a power source, but now she was free. Jay studied the tools spread across the floor. Most were old tech parts, wires, broken transmitters, cracked screens. He was no engineer, but he had worked with enough systems to build a signal, a message. Something that could reach other humans still alive and hiding. By morning, Lyra woke to the sound of wires sparking. She sat up slowly and watched him connect pieces with focus in his eyes. She didn't interrupt, Only after he failed 3 times did she finally speak. "You're trying to build a transmitter," she said. Jace nodded. "If I can boost a signal to the old orbital satellites, maybe someone will hear us. A military outpost. A resistance group. Anyone. I can help," she said, and reached for a coil of glowing thread in her belt. She knelt beside him and touched the base of the transmitter. Her fingers pulsed softly with blue light. The machine hummed. For a moment, Jace thought, it might actually work. Then a loud crack split the silence. The device sparked violently and went dark. Lyra fell backward, gasping. Her hand trembled. "You're not strong enough," Jace said gently. "No," she whispered. "They damaged my flow core when they tried to boil me. I'm unstable." He helped her sit up and offered water. She drank slowly, then looked at him with tired eyes. "There's another way," she said. "A central node tower. Deep in their field grid. If we reach it, I can send a message from there. Strong enough to cross the planet." Jace frowned. "That's suicide. We have to walk right into their command zone. They won't expect it," she replied. "No. One escapes the cauldrons. That's their mistake. They think we're already dead." He considered her words carefully. It was madness, but it was the only path that offered hope. Jace stood and grabbed his pack. "Then we do it tonight," he sighed. Lyra's legs were stronger now. She moved with more confidence, though she still leaned on his shoulder as they climbed the hill behind the station. From the top, they could see the black spires in the distance. Dozens of towers rose like thorns from the earth. At the center stood the node, taller than the rest, pulsing with white light. They traveled at night, moving through shadows. Alien. Drones flew overhead, their beams scanning for heat signatures. Jace had rigged a cooling net from old foil and coolant packs. It masked them just enough. Lyra's natural heat was harder to hide, but she suppressed her energy flow as much as she could. They avoided roads and climbed through ravines, crossed rivers, and crawled through dead fields. At one point, they stumbled upon a burnt convoy of human vehicles. Bodies lay still inside the wreckage. Lyra closed her eyes and whispered something Jace didn't understand. "What did you say?" he asked. "A memory blessing," she answered. "So their warmth won't fade into nothing." They reached the edge of the tower field after 3 days of silent movement. The sky was thick with black clouds, lit from below by alien fire pits. The air buzzed with static. Lyra crouched low behind a fallen stone arch and pointed at a narrow path between 2 reactor vanes. "That's the blind path," she said. "It leads straight to the node access point. But we must move fast. Once inside, the system will sense." Jace checked his rifle. Only 5 shots remained. He nodded. "Let's finish this." They moved like shadows. The field sizzled with alien energy, but no alarm came. The entrance to the node was guarded by 2 sentries. Jace fired twice. Both fell before they could shout. They rushed inside, climbing a spiral of glass and bone. At the top, the node pulsed like a heart. Lyra placed both hands against it. Her body lit up, glowing with the same power that once hurt her. But this time, she controlled it. Jace watched as her hair floated upward, her eyes blazing blue. She began to speak in an alien tongue. The tower shook. The lights shifted. A signal burst into the sky like a flare. The stars blinked above them. Somewhere, someone would hear it. Someone human. Then the alarms began to scream. Asterisk, the alarm ripped through the tower like a blade. Red lights flared across the walls, and the floor began to pulse with angry energy. Jace grabbed Lyra by the arm and pulled her back from the node. She stumbled slightly, still glowing, her breath sharp and unsteady. "You did it," Jace shouted. "You sent the message." "Yes," she gasped. "But now they know exactly where we are." Footsteps thundered below. Jace dragged a heavy cabinet in front of the door as a temporary block. The glass windows behind them showed drones lifting off from nearby towers. More would arrive in minutes. They had no way down and nowhere left to hide. Lyra looked at the glowing walls. Her hands sparked again, but weaker than before. The surge had drained her. She leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Jace checked his rifle. 3 shots left. The cabinet creaked as something heavy hit it from the other side. "We'll have to jump," he said. She turned to the window and stared down. The tower rose higher than any tree. The ground looked like distant shadows. She shook her head slowly. "We'll not if I aim for the coolant canal," he said, pointing at a thin stream running below. "Surrounded by metal piping, it's still a risk," she whispered. "It's our only chance," he replied. He smashed the window with his boot. The glass shattered outward, raining down like crystal. Smoke rose from the enemy camp below. Shouts grew louder behind them. Jace took a deep breath, grabbed Lyra's hand and jumped. The fall lasted only seconds, but felt like forever. Wind tore at his face. Lyra screamed once before they slammed into the water. The canal swallowed them, cold and brutal. They sank deep before Jace kicked hard and pulled them to the surface. He coughed water, grabbed her, and dragged her to the edge. She was breathing. That was enough. They crawled out, dripping and sore, but alive. The tower loomed behind them. Alarms still echoing into the dark sky. They ran into the forest, slipping between roots and rocks. The night covered them. The drone scanned wide, but none searched the low tunnels near the riverbed. That's where Jace led them. A forgotten maintenance lying hidden beneath soil and vines. Inside the tunnel, the air smelled of rust and old oil. Lyra limped beside him, her strength almost gone. Jace found a safe pocket near a sealed grate and helped her sit down. She leaned back, shivering. He wrapped her in a dry piece of cloth from his pack. "Did the signal really go out?" he asked. She nodded weakly. "It reached the satellite chain. I felt the pulse connect." "Someone heard us." Jace sat beside her, wiping dirt from his arms. His ribs ached. His mind spun with questions. But one burned brighter than the rest. "Why did you help me? Why risk yourself to get the message out?" Lyra looked at him. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Because I saw how you looked at me when I was chained, not like fuel, not like a thing, like a person. I wanted others to be seen the same way. Even if I don't survive, someone must know what they're doing." Jace didn't speak. He just reached over and gently held her hand. Hours passed in silence. The tunnel stayed quiet. Then, deep in the early morning darkness, a soft beep echoed from Jace's pack. He reached in and pulled out a broken cum link. The screen blinked faintly. A single message scrolled across it. "Signal received. Extraction possible. Send location." His eyes widened. He looked at Lyra. "They heard us. Someone's out there." Lyra's lips curled into the smallest smile. "You see," she whispered, "hope survives." Jace began typing back a coded reply. Coordinates, threat level, known paths. He sent the message twice to be sure. Then he powered the unit down to save what little charge remained. Outside, the wind howled louder. The sound of approaching engines rolled through the trees. "They're tracking heat again," Lyra said, sitting up straighter. "Then we move now," Jace answered. He helped her to her feet. They followed the tunnel deeper into the earth, hoping to find a second exit. As they walked, Lyra's steps became stronger. Her body still trembled from time to time, but something inside her had changed. She was no longer just surviving. She was beginning to fight. The tunnel finally ended beneath a collapsed refinery on the edge of the broken city. Jace pushed aside a rusted grate and helped Lyra crawl into the ruins. The air outside was thick with smoke and the distant hum of alien patrols. They moved quickly, using the shadows cast by fallen towers to hide their path. Lyra paused near a cracked mirror panel and touched her reflection. Her skin, once glowing softly, was pale now. Her body looked thinner. She turned away before Jace noticed. She didn't want him to see how fast the damage inside her was spreading. The jump from the tower had taken more than just energy. Jace scanned the street ahead through a broken visor scope. 2 scout drones hovered beyond the next plaza. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a shock grenade. He waited, then rolled it across the ground. A second later, a silent flash dropped both drones with a low hum. They crossed safely. Behind a half-crushed vehicle, Jace stopped and looked up. The stars were barely visible through the ash in the sky. He remembered clear nights on his grandfather's farm. Now the stars felt like distant memories, fading more each day. They entered an old warehouse filled with damaged escape shuttles. Jace had been there before, back when he was scavenging parts. He led Lyra to one of the hidden basements under the floor. Inside were boxes of preserved supplies, a broken transmitter, and a folded military map. "We'll rest here," he said. Setting his pack down, Lyra sat on a crate, breathing slowly. She opened a ration bar and broke it in half. She handed one piece to Jace without saying a word. He took it and nodded Colon after eating. Jace unfolded the map. He circled the node tower and the path they had taken. Then he pointed to a mountain range on the far edge of the map. "This is where the extraction might come," he said. "High enough for landing, isolated. If we reach it by tomorrow, we have a chance." "It's far," Lyra said, "and the energy lines cut through the valley below. It will be crawling with sentries." "I know," he said, "but it's the only place safe enough for a dropship." She stood slowly and walked to the corner of the room. There, behind old crates, she pulled out something wrapped in cloth. It was a long rod with strange patterns carved into the metal. She held it carefully and walked back. "This is my weapon," she said. "I've never used it before, but I think it will answer to me now." Jace examined it. The rod vibrated faintly in his hand before he passed it back. It responded to her presence like it recognized her. He had never seen anything like it. They left before dawn, cutting through silent roads and abandoned outposts. The valley came into view just as the sun turned the ash clouds golden. The terrain was wide and flat, perfect for tracking. They moved quickly, speaking little, saving their energy. Halfway through the valley, they were spotted. A tall shadow moved on the ridge, then another, then more. Alien scouts poured out from the hills, spreading like ants. Jace raised his rifle and fired. The first shot dropped the scout. The second grazed one's shoulder. He missed the third. They ran. Lyra turned and raised her weapon. It hummed with power. A pulse of light shot from its tip and knocked down 3 enemies at once. The strain showed in her eyes, but she didn't stop. Jace pulled her behind a boulder as plasma fire lit up the ground around them. "Too many," he said, reloading his last bullet. "We keep moving." She answered, her voice sharper now. They reached a cliffside trail as the attackers closed in. Lyra fired again, this time holding her rod high. A wide beam carved a trench in the earth, forcing the scouts to scatter. Her legs buckled, and Jace caught her before she fell. "Don't stop," she said, gripping his shirt. They climbed the narrow path up the mountain. Their breaths came hard, their legs burned. But the top came into view, so did a blinking red light. Jace pulled out the comlink and held it up. A message returned instantly. Dropship en route. ETA 7 minutes. "Hold position, we made it," he said. Lyra collapsed beside him, her body shaking. Her skin flickered with failing light. Jace knelt beside her, holding her close as engines roared in the distance. A shape appeared above the clouds, growing fast. The ship had arrived. The dropship hovered above the mountain peak, its engines loud against the thin air. Searchlights swept the cliffside as the ship lowered a wide landing platform. Jace held Lyra tightly, guiding her onto the metal plate. Her steps were slow, each movement harder than the last. Her glow had faded to a dim shimmer. A hatch opened with a hiss. 2 armored humans stepped out, their weapons raised. Jace raised both hands to show he was not a threat. One of the soldiers recognized the signal and nodded. The other kept his eyes on Lyra. "She's with me," Jace said firmly. The first soldier spoke into his cum. Civilian and unknown lifeform secured. Preparing for lift, Lyra stumbled. Jace caught her before she hit the ground. The medics rushed forward, lifting her onto a stretcher and strapping her down. One of them scanned her body and looked up sharply. "She's spiking. Some kind of energy overload. She won't last much longer without a stabilizer. Do something." Jace snapped. "We'll try," the medic said. The ship lifted into the air. Below them, the valley was already crawling with alien troops. Plasma bolts lit up the cliffs as the ship tilted upward. A turret returned fire, tearing through the enemy lines. Then the clouds swallowed everything. Inside, Lyra's breathing slowed. Her hands twitched as if reaching for something unseen. The medic injected her with a cooling agent, but it barely made a difference. Her internal system was failing, and Jace could see it in her eyes. "Stay with me," he whispered. Her lips moved, forming silent words. Then a weak voice escaped. "You kept your promise." Jace nodded and held her hand tighter. The ship docked at an underground base hidden beneath the western ridge. Lights flashed as the crew rushed inside with stretchers and crates. Jace followed. As they wheeled Lyra into the medical wing, a doctor in white armor shouted commands while machines scanned her body. "She's not fully human," the doctor said. "We've never treated this hybrid design before. Her body is trying to purge itself after resisting her original programming. She's burning from the inside out." "Then stop it," Jace said. "We'll try a neural reset," the doctor replied. He watched through the glass as Lyra's body shook. The energy surged across her skin like lightning. Tubes and needles connected her to humming machines. Then her eyes opened suddenly, glowing bright again. She sat up violently, screaming. The machines shut down. A single pulse exploded from her chest and cracked the window. Everyone froze. Jace ran inside before anyone could stop him. Lyra looked up, her breathing ragged. Her voice was a whisper. "They left a command inside me, a death order. If I ever got free, they would trigger it. That's what's killing me now." Jace stared at her, stunned. "Can it be removed?" She shook her head. "Not without killing me." "But there might be another way." Jace leaned in. "Tell me." "They use a neural relay crystal. If I can reach it before the signal finishes, I might overwrite it. But I need a direct link and power." Jace stood up and turned to the doctor. "What do we need?" The doctor hesitated. "It's dangerous. If she fails, it could fry the entire base." Jace stepped closer. "Then isolate the chamber. Give her the chance." Minutes later, they moved Lyra into the chamber's core. The walls shimmered with energy. A massive sphere pulsed in the center, wired into every part of the base. Jace stood beside her as she placed her hands on the control rings. Her skin lit up once more, brighter than before. "Are you ready?" he asked. She nodded. "I have to try." The doctor gave the signal. The power surged. The lights dimmed across the base. Lyra's body rose slightly into the air as the energy consumed her. Her eyes burned with white fire. Symbols appeared on the sphere, spinning faster and faster. Suddenly, alarms blared. The death command was pushing back. Lyra screamed as the code tried to take over her again. Her hands trembled, her voice breaking as she fought the pulse inside her mind. Jace slammed his hand onto the emergency override panel. "Take power from my cell," he shouted. "Link it to her flow." The techs hesitated. "Do it now," he demanded. Cables shot into the wall. The lights flared once more. A second pulse joined hers, human life force merging with hybrid code. Lyra's scream turned into a roar. Then silence. The sphere exploded in a final burst of light. Jace fell backward. Smoke filled the chamber. He crawled toward her body, heart pounding. Her chest wasn't moving. He touched her hand. It was cold. Then her fingers twitched. Jace froze as her fingers moved again. Just once, then again. He dropped to his knees beside her and placed his ear close to her chest. A faint pulse echoed inside. Slow, but steady. He gripped her hand and whispered her name. Lyra. Her eyes fluttered. Her lips moved without sound. Then a breath escaped her lungs, followed by a cough. Her head turned weakly in his direction. She blinked slowly, like waking from a deep storm. Her voice returned, quiet but alive. It worked. The medical team rushed in, scanners already in hand. The lead technician waved a device over her chest and stared at the screen in disbelief. Her vital signs were stabilizing. The death signal had vanished. The command was gone. She broke the code, the doctor said. She's free. Jace let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. He sat back, still gripping her hand. The air smelled like metal and burnt circuits, but none of it mattered. Lyra was alive. They moved her gently to recovery. As the base powered back up, soldiers gathered in the command room, drawn by the emergency signals and the energy burst. Rumors spread fast. A hybrid girl had overridden her death command. She had survived something no one ever had. 2 hours later, Jace was called into the debrief room. A high-ranking officer waited there, arms folded behind his back. His eyes were sharp but curious. He motioned for Jace to sit. You're the one who brought the hybrid out of the field. Yes, sir, Jace answered. She sent the signal. You both exposed the enemy's energy harvesting system. That message was picked up by 6 remaining resistance hubs. You lit the fuse. Jace stayed silent. We're going to war, the officer said. Not to defend. To stop them, fully, and we want her to help. She almost died, Jace said. We know, the officer nodded, but she's not a prisoner. It's her choice. We won't force her. Jace left the room and returned to the recovery wing. Lyra sat upright now, connected to fewer tubes. Her skin looked clearer. The energy pulses in her veins had softened to a gentle glow. She smiled. When she saw him, you look like you've been arguing with soldiers, she said. They want you to join the next wave, Jace said, sitting beside her. I figured they would, she said. You don't have to, he added quickly. You're not their tool. Lyra looked down at her hands. She turned them over slowly, then looked at him again. I want to. Jace didn't expect that. I've spent my whole life trapped in their systems, born to serve them. Used for heat, pain, or silence. But now I know I can fight. I can protect others like me. Maybe even save them. Jace nodded slowly. Then I'll be right beside you. Lyra's smile returned, this time brighter. Over the next few days, she trained with a select group of engineers and scouts. Her knowledge of alien tech helped them map out energy nodes and command towers. Jace assisted in refitting gear and decoding enemy transmission patterns. Together, they became the core of a new strike team. On the 7th day, the commander summoned all units to the staging floor. Large screens displayed satellite feeds of the enemy grid. Each red mark showed a tower powered by life energy. The new plan was simple. Hit hard, hit fast, and tear down the network from inside. Jace loaded his rifle. He checked Lyra's armor connections and handed her a new backup core. She looked strong again. More than that, she looked ready. Her weapon pulsed with calm energy at her side. She adjusted her gauntlet and gave a small nod. Time to change the world, she said. The dropships launched at midnight. Clouds split apart as engines roared toward enemy airspace. Inside the cabin, soldiers waited in silence, checking weapons and whispering prayers. Jace sat across from Lyra, their eyes locked. No fear. Only purpose. The first target was a large conversion chamber deep within Sector 4. According to Lyra's memory, hundreds of hybrids were still trapped inside, suspended above the same boiling cores she had nearly died in. Jace watched the screen as the coordinates approached. When they landed, the sky was already red from reactor glow. Lyra led the charge. Her weapon tore through barriers like silk. Jace followed close, covering her flank. The enemy reacted too late. They never expected one of their own to betray them. Inside the main chamber, chains hung from the ceiling. Lyra looked up, her face stone cold. She raised both hands and fired into the locks above. Bodies dropped into waiting nets. Soldiers rushed to pull them free. One hybrid opened his eyes and whispered a word none had heard in years. Hope. Asterisk. Rescued hybrids were weak but alive. Medical units moved fast, scanning each one and injecting stabilizers. Jace stood by the main console while Lyra opened the last vault door. Inside, the glow of boiling chambers flickered like dying stars. No more prisoners remained in this sector. Outside, the battlefield was changing. Explosions rocked the towers. As strike teams dismantled energy conduits, every fallen node weakened the enemy. Their machines slowed. Their signals fractured. For the first time, humanity was pushing back. Jace met with the strike captain at the ridge. A large hologram displayed current progress. Half of the energy network was already destroyed. More towers were falling by the hour. The hybrids, once silent and broken, now stood alongside the human fighters. They're moving their queen. The captain said, "She controls the core directive. If we remove her, the signal chain dies. Where is she?" Jace asked. "Deep within the Origin Spire," the captain said, pointing to the largest red mark on the map. "It's heavily shielded. No one has reached it in years." "I know someone who can," Jace said. Back inside the base, Lyra sat in quiet thought. Her hands were folded, her weapon resting beside her. Jace entered and knelt beside her. She looked up and nodded before he could speak. "The Queen's Spire," she said. "You knew?" "I was born near it," she replied. "The same room where they break us before programming. If she's there, I can reach her. But I might not return." Jace looked at her, eyes steady. "Then I'm going with you." They boarded a black transport. Ship built for silence and speed. Only 3 others joined them. 2 engineers to hack the shield gates, and 1 medic in case things went wrong. The ship flew low through enemy lines, invisible to scans thanks to hybrid cloaking technology. Lyra had modified herself. They reached the base of the spire just before dawn. The sky burned purple above jagged cliffs. Mechanical vines wrapped around the structure like roots. At the top, a pulsing red light spun slowly. The Queen was there. The first gate was easy. Lyra whispered into its circuit, and the door slid open. The next hallway was filled with dormant sentries. She held up her hand, and their lights dimmed, recognizing her signature. Still, every step made her skin tighten. At the final gate, the engineers began working. Sparks flew as they cut through layers of defense. Then the doors opened, revealing a round chamber lit by golden fire. At its center stood the Queen. She was tall, her body wrapped in living armor. Her face was expressionless, eyes glowing with ancient code. When she saw Lyra, she tilted her head and spoke. "You should have burned. I chose to live." Lyra replied. The Queen moved forward. Her presence was heavy, pressing on every mind in the room. The engineers stepped back. Jace raised his weapon, but Lyra held out her arm. "I have to do this." She stepped into the circle. The Queen raised her hand. A beam of energy struck Lyra's chest. She staggered, but kept walking. The pain cracked through her spine, yet she moved forward. Her weapon clattered to the floor as she reached the base of the throne. "You cannot change what you are," the Queen said. "I already did. Lyra answered. She placed her hand on the core beneath the queen's throne. It pulsed with red light, trying to reject her. She closed her eyes and pushed her thoughts into it. Her memories, her fear, her freedom. Her voice echoed inside the machine. It hesitated. The queen roared. Her armor flared. Jace rushed forward and fired. One shot struck the queen's shoulder. Another hit her side. She turned toward him in fury, but Lyra's scream cut through the room. The core burst into white fire. The queen froze in place. Lyra stood with her hand deep inside the energy stream. Her skin burned. Her eyes glowed so bright it hurt to look. At her, the room shook. Sparks shot from the walls. Then the queen fell to her knees. The code had broken. Jace ran to Lyra. Her legs gave out, and he caught her before she hit the ground. The throne shattered behind them. The lights in the spire dimmed. Outside, towers collapsed. Across the planet, harvesting chambers shut down. The war had changed in one breath. Back at base, they treated her burns. Weeks passed. Her body healed. Slowly, but her spirit stayed strong. She became a symbol of change. A voice that once whispered, "Please," had now silenced a queen. One morning, Jace brought her a flower from the forest outside. She smiled, holding it gently. Her hand brushed his. "Thank you," she said. "No," he whispered. "Thank you."